y'all, it's your girl Bri, and in this video I'm going to show you guys how to do this DIY mini skirt inspired by Dahyun's look in Twice's new music video for the comeback Knock Knock. And I had to watch Knock Knock because I watched TT, and if you guys don't know TT was the biggest hit of 2016, and it was popping, it was all that, it was just blowing up around the world. And so I had to watch part two. And I was just taken aback by Dahyun's skirt, in one of her skirts in this music video, and I was just like, I need to recreate that. So I did, and I filmed it for you guys, and here it is. If you're new here, please make sure to subscribe. I will be coming at you with new videos every Tuesday. I'm doing good so far, you know. On my second video on a Tuesday, you know. I'm gonna keep trying. But yeah, make sure to subscribe if you're new here. It's gonna be crazy. I'm gonna keep coming at you with more DIYs, more tutorials. Yeah, make sure to stay tuned to the end of this video because I will be doing a lookbook, styling the skirt in my own form and fashion. And without further ado, let's get into that tutorial.
Creating the pattern for the skirt is pretty simple. You just want to use an A-line skirt because that is the shape of the skirt that Dahyun was wearing in the music video. And you just want to use some construction paper. I just used a old paper bag that I had that was big enough for the pattern, and I folded my skirt in half. I folded the construction paper in half, and I lined up the folded edge of the skirt with the folded edge of the pattern paper, and I traced an inch away from the edge of the skirt all around. So when I was outlining the shape of my skirt, I basically was just using these long tick marks, and once I finished, I am just using the straight edge of my ruler to connect those tick marks. Using tick marks allows you to better form or create the form of the skirt by capturing all the angles and the curves, and then using your straight edge just allows you to connect all those things and cut out your pattern. Now moving on to creating the pattern for the back. So you want to make sure that the back pattern is a continuation of the front. You don't want too uneven. When you're cutting, you don't want your pattern to be at two different heights. So I just made a little tick mark to show me where I started or finished tracing the pattern on the front. So I'm using the zipper as the middle point or the middle seam for the back, and that means that I'll be tracing the side seam and the top seam and the hem again. So just doing a continuation of what we did in the front, making sure that it's straight, making sure that there's no lumps and bruises, and making sure that you fully get the shape of the back. And now we're just going to cut out the pattern. I mean, I obviously don't need to step you through this. Anyone who's been through the first grade knows how to cut on a line. Now, to make it easier when I'm using my pattern and I'm cutting out my fabric, I'm folding the back side in an interesting way so that you can't really see it when it's folded in half and I'm using my front pattern. This way I don't accidentally cut the wrong length or cut the wrong curve. And you don't want to manipulate the pattern so that it's unusable. You just want to fold it just enough. Pattern done. Now it's time for materials. First, I'm using this velvet knockoff sort of fabric, and I'm using one plaid and another plaid. You want the plaids to be complementary. These are just suiting plaids. And then you want a zipper, 18 inches, and some cross grain. Starting with our velveteen fabric, we are going to cut out our first piece for our skirt, and we're going to start with a front piece. Now, most patterns, you are going to fold your fabric in half and you're going to place the pattern on the folded edge, and it's going to be great and fantastic. This is not one of those type of projects. It is a piece by piece skirt, so each pattern or each piece that we cut from the pattern, we are going to put it on one layer of fabric. We're not going to fold our fabric at all. So just keep that in mind. And we have our first piece cut out. Yay! Okay, keeping with this same fabric, we are going to unfold our pattern so we can work on the back, because this black velveteen fabric is going to be our back of our skirt. Remember, we're not folding the material because this is a piece by piece skirt. Also, to hold my pattern in place, I didn't mention this earlier, but I'm just using some heavy cups just so the pattern and the fabric doesn't shift around as I'm cutting. This is very important because you don't want to be cutting your fabric and your pattern be moving. It's just gonna make it a hot ass mess. Look at that, our second piece done. Okay, so now to create our third piece, which is the other side of the back of the skirt, or the other half of the back. Basically, you just want to mirror the second piece that we just cut out. You just want to flip your back pattern so that instead of the side seam angle being one way, you want it to be the other way. It's super simple. You don't have to create another pattern or anything. You're just using this back pattern by mirroring it. So it saves you time and energy. Finishing cutting out this third piece, and our whole back is done. Now that I've cut out all the pieces that use the black fabric, I am now moving on to my plaids. So I am cutting out the second half of my front. This front piece is going to mirror the other side. So as you can see, I am just flipping over that pattern so that I get the other half of the front. And for the front, I'm using the thicker plaid instead of the tinier plaid, just because I have thick thighs and I have wider hips, and it's just gonna look better on my body if I use the wider print. Okay, and now our front is done. We have our front two pieces. Okay, so with our front pieces, we want to zigzag the edge of our fabric just so that it doesn't unravel. Alright, now we're going to put our front together. We're only attaching the fronts by a basting stitch. This is just so you get an outline of what the skirt is supposed to look like. And you want our velveteen side to be touching a plaid side, and you want the side seams to be going the same angle. Remember, we're only attaching this by basting stitch, so we're going to pump up our stitch length to 6.0. The reason why we're doing this is because we're going to take it out later and insert a plaid in between these two. So yeah, I just did this so you can sort of get a feel of how the shape of the skirt is going to look like. Okay, now we're ready to sew up our side seams. So basically how we know to do this is you can see that my angles are going the same direction for our side seams. Also, because this velveteen fabric, we obviously know that the velvety side or the plusher side is the right side. So we want to make sure that that is always touching the plaid. We never want that fabricy side or that rough side to be touching the plaid. That is how you know that you've done something wrong. So basically, yeah, we're just gonna sew up our side seams. Pretty simple from here on out. Okay, as you can see, my skirt is now one long strip because we didn't sew up the back. Don't sew up the back. We're going to add a zipper, and that's how we're going to do the closure. So, yeah, it should just be one long strip of connected fabric pieces. Okay, so this is ghetto-ass pattern making at its finest and rarest form. Basically, I did all of this for no reason. I just actually ended up using the front pattern piece that we created earlier just because this got too complicated and it just wasn't giving me the shape that I wanted. And so I just ended up using the front pattern piece and just trimming it a little bit so that it wasn't as wide um, as our other plaid piece that we did earlier. But so yeah, just ignore all of this. It was for nothing. But I did include it just so, you know, I could get more screen time. I don't know. But you do want to follow all of the steps that I'm about to show you just because you still are going to need to do them to create this pattern piece. What I did, well, I will say is when I did use the front pattern piece for this tighter plaid, for this plaid insert, I wanted to make sure that the side seam angle was in the same direction as our base plaid, so that wider plaid fabric. Okay, now we're going to zigzag the edges so that they don't unravel. The only edge that we're not going to zigzag is the hem. We want to keep those threads nice and loose and raw. Now I'm just going to hem the sides of this plaid insert, and I'm just turning it up 1/4 inch twice. It's just to make it cleaner because we're placing this on top of the fabric. We're not doing anything special, so the sides are going to be shown. Okay, so I put that plaid piece aside and now I am just hemming the skirt, and I hemmed it by turning up the edge 1/4 inch twice. That just seems to be my thing. And yeah, I just did this before I inserted the plaid piece so that it doesn't throw off the hem or the length of the skirt. And as you can see, I took out that basting stitch in the front because now you've seen what the skirt is going to look like. Okay, so to make this as simple as possible, your plaid insert is going to go under the black fabric, and you want the black fabric to be covering the plaid insert about 1/4 inch. And the edges that should be facing each other or going towards each other with this plaid insert and the black fabric is the straight edge. The angled side should be the same, going the same direction as the other plaid fabric, that wider plaid fabric that we used. Okay, so when attaching this plaid insert and the black fabric together, we're just going to top stitch down our black fabric, catching the plaid insert. When it comes to attaching the plaid insert to our other fabric, our other plaid fabric, we are going to just place a plaid insert on top of that plaid fabric and top stitch that down. It's as simple as that. you will notice that the plaid insert is longer than the hem that we've created for the rest of the skirt. That is part of the style. It is not a mistake. It is what needs to happen. All right? It's pretty simple. Just watch me do it. Here we are with attaching that plaid insert to the thicker plaid fabric, and you can see that the side of the plaid insert is the same angle as the side of the bigger plaid base fabric. That should just be parallel, and we're just going to top stitch that plaid insert straight on down to that plaid base. With our plaid insert in, now we're ready to do our waistband. Okay, so I put my waistband down about 2 inches just because when I was trying on the skirt in between filming this tutorial, I noticed that it was a little bit longer than what I wanted it to be, so I wanted to shorten it 2 inches, and instead of redoing the hem and going through all of that, I decided to take those 2 inches out from the top. So that's just a tip that you guys should think about if you want to shorten this skirt, is by putting the waistband down a little bit by shortening it from the top instead of doing it from the hem. Okay, so basically I just used my cross grain and I am attaching this waistband all around. With our waistband sewn on, now we're going to iron it. Manipulate it using the iron. So we want to fold it down towards the back of our fabric where you would see all the seam allowance. This way it just creates a finished edge for our waist, and it also just gives the back a little bit of structure. Yeah, so that's about it for the waistband. Keep our waistband from lifting up, we want to top stitch the edge of our waist, and we want our stitch to be 1/8 of an inch from the edge, as close as possible to the edge without running off of it. With our waistband in, now all we have to do to finish out this skirt is put in our zipper. So our zipper is going to go up the back seam. Remember, that's why we kept it open. We kept it open for this long so we could put in that zipper. I am not really gonna show you how to put in a zipper just because the package of any zipper that you buy explains it really thoroughly, and they would explain it a lot better than I ever could. So just follow those directions and you'll be set to go. Yeah, I didn't really do anything special with putting in this zipper. I just followed the package instructions. I mean, I didn't need to because I put in 1,000 zippers, but yeah, follow the package instructions. They will help you out immensely. And with our zipper in, our skirt is complete. I know this tutorial was really long and there's a lot of different moving pieces. I tried to be as clear as I can, but if you have any questions, please make sure to leave them in the comments down below, and I will try to answer them as best as I can just to help you guys out any further. All right, it's beautiful. It's plaid-tastic.
I hope you guys enjoy this tutorial. If you do this tutorial, please send me photos of yourself rocking the skirt. I definitely want to see how it turned out. You can send those to me at my Instagram and follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is just at YaGirlBri. Yeah, that's about it. I want to say thank you to my girl Daehyun for the inspiration, and I want to say thank you for watching. Alright, I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye, y'all.